more letters are we going to add to this? I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was really just G and L, gay and lesbians. Or maybe it was just gay, because gay included lesbians. How many more letters? They keep adding letters and keeping the plus. And I know what letter they're really after. It's the P for pedophilia. That's why they keep putting that plus. No matter how many letters, this may include the entire alphabet except for the P, and they'll still put a plus on there because at some point they want to legalize and normalize pedophilia. It's going to happen within our lifetime.
When it comes to your kids, how important are they? Because if you think that education is neutral, you have lost it. I know everybody's praising DeSantis right now because of what he's doing with the whole bill, and they're fighting the bill because they don't like it, but it's not enough. You want to do something bold, allow parents to take their kids out of government schools and choose the education that they want for their kids so that you don't tax them. Now that's bold. Here's something else bold. Forget waiting for your civil magistrate and government to do it. Show me that you value the kids that you have made and feed and go to work to protect. Take them out of government schools and educate them. Your kids will have a better godly education from your wife staying home and training them and teaching them how to talk, teaching them how to read, teaching them about God's world and how it works and operates. If you are not willing to take that type of risk to educate the kids that you've made, then give them to the government and let them continue to have gay pride there in the schools. This is ridiculous.
Babylon Bee, which promotes itself as a satire site, or it says that they are fake news you can trust, they were suspended from Twitter for naming Rachel Levine, who is the Assistant Secretary for the United States Department of Health and Human Services, for naming him Man of the Year. So I just want to get your take on that and their suspension and what you think about it.
Comedy's under attack as a way to police free speech and a way to police speech that big tech and the alphabet mafia disagree with. And so Rachel Levine is a protected species because he has decided to transition into womanhood. And, you know, you can't crack jokes about Rachel Levine, despite him. He allegedly was born with the greatest privilege you could have. He was a white man.
You know, somebody's got to stand up for these kids. And so anyway, I held my ground, they held theirs, and we agreed to part ways for the time being, and all friendly. You know, I'm intending to be a Zag fan and a supporter of the games when these things clear. But you know, I don't know how a person like me could stand there and just join the party.
And so listening to your answer, it doesn't sound it's as much about you wearing the mask as standing on the principle, why are you doing this to these young people? You were trying to make a point. It wasn't just about your own personal comfort. It was about forcing this on young people?
Well, it's both. I put on the mask. I can't breathe in those things. I think they're unhealthy for us. Almost without exception. I think Anthony Fauci wrote a letter to that effect in 2007 that said it was probably the cause of the Spanish flu was undiagnosed pneumonia caused by mask wearing.
Faith can really drive you to a level no one could anticipate.
Yeah, I think it's inseparable, really. Growing up, I'll give you an example. My grandmother said a rosary over her crops. My mom grew up a farmer, so she said a rosary over her crops every year, which I don't know if everybody even knows what that is. It's a big long prayer, if you will, and never had it hailed out or frosted out once, not once. Now the brothers didn't have her sons didn't quite have the same faith, and they took out insurance on the crops, but it never came to be. And I grew up with my mom and dad. Went to church every day, still have gone to church every day until COVID myself. Not every day, I'm sorry, every Sunday. And you just can't, and raised by the nuns once I went to school. So you can't separate that in terms of who you are. It's all the noise on it. He found a way to call my dad. I mean, I don't know how he would even do that, but he called my dad personally. Didn't have a secretary call. He didn't have, he called my dad and just kind of explained that he felt that he belonged as well. Not that it was John or me and that John shouldn't have. And I tell you, my dad so much appreciated that, and it put him at such ease. And again, I'm so grateful for that. I don't know if I'd have been big enough to do that. That's for sure. And so, that put everything at ease in my camp for sure.
When did that happen, in 92 or years later?
That happened pre-Olympics. So, that whole year was apparently the year of tension. But, for what it's worth, and my parents and my family always felt the tension more. I think they watched the news, they watched the news, they read the newspapers. And for being a family member of an athlete, it's probably more difficult than the athlete. You just go do your job, but they have to hear all the bad things said about you and whatnot.
So I think most people would say the 3-point shot you hit over Charles Barkley in '97 sent Utah into the NBA Finals. We would call that your greatest memory, or our greatest memory, of John Stockton. Maybe not one of your assists, but that's our version of, how we're going to remember you. What's your greatest on-court memory?
Well, that's got to be right up there. I mean, it's we had some great times. There was wins in the finals that would fit into that category. We didn't win the finals, so it doesn't have the same impact. That shot still kind of gives me goosebumps, and because what led up to it. I mean, we lost to we were in the conference finals 6 out of 8 years, and couldn't get over the top. And whether we lost to Portland with Clyde Drexler, or whether it was Houston with Olajuwon and Barkley and all these guys. I mean, it was just we always had another hump to get over.
I think that liberal white women are the greatest enemy to America, and Black women are second. I think that they have produced a generation or generations of burly feminists and beta males. And I cannot believe that as a country that's supposed to be one nation under God, that we can so easily be compared right now to Sodom and Gomorrah. In the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham pleaded with God when he said he was going to destroy them, that if he could just find, he went from 50, I believe, down to 10. If you can find just 10 righteous, will you save the city? He was thinking about the fact that his nephew Lot and his family, they lived there. Well, when the angels were sent to see what was really going on in the city, they couldn't find even 10 righteous people in the city.
Law firms will debate what they should take. It's not like this censorship is totally new, but the scope and severity of it has clearly expanded. And so, there's a story in my piece about a First Amendment lawyer being forced to turn down a client with very far-right views because the firm tells the lawyer, well, we think that any association with this guy is going to hurt business. We just don't want that. We don't want to be involved in that. So, then First Amendment cases like that, off the table. Religious liberty cases, off the table. There's all these forces, both from within the firm and then also from public pressure, that have steadily constricted law firms' willingness and even arguably financial ability to take controversial cases. Because after all, if all your other clients protest you for taking on, say, Harvey Weinstein, you're going to lose business. So you really have no choice.
My frustration is cultural Marxism is taking over the way everybody thinks. They don't know that, but they know the idea of, we got to be for women's rights. Yeah, we got to be for LGBTQ rights. Yeah, we got to advocate for transgender people. And if you ask them, do you know that that's cultural Marxism? They'll go, what are you talking about? That's over my head. Right. And I'm just saying, somehow, some way, we've got to advocate for the truth of Jesus, but But there are a lot of people, like the judge that's right now before the country to be appointed, who she claims to be a Christian, but she's also bought into cultural Marxism. And I bet she can't tell you the difference. In fact, she was asked about critical theory, and she said, I don't know that much about it, after having advocated for critical race theory.
Bob?
As a pastor, I'm just telling you, we got to think harder.
Bob.
Yes.
Today's conversations, she can't define what a woman is, or
Right.
says she can't.
But why can't she?
No, because she's lying.
When your identity is not built on what you are for, but just what you are against, you can end up running yourself into some serious problems. And I said this in the column, like many sort of ideologies pushed towards women, these new handmaids are pushing bondage in the name of liberation. So they've done it, again, for the past 7 years, at least 50 years. They'll tell women, children are an opportunity cost. You could be in the workforce making a lot more money, so kill your kids. Okay, sure. The same with marriage, same with home life. And the same stuff as I talked about with sex work, right? You have Teen Vogue telling young girls that being a cam model, stripper, a sugar baby, these are all legitimate forms of financial independence.
I think you mentioned whether or not this is a win for Kyrie. I think the biggest win is he gets to walk away with some self-respect. And most of these other guys just rolled it out, and whatever they had to do, they had to do. Kyrie actually had a reason for doing this. I got a buddy who's pretty close to Kyrie. So Kyrie's mother was born into an Indian tribe. And if you know anything about the Indians, and he considers himself a Native American, whatever the respectful way to say it is, they are very holistic. They don't trust the government, and they don't trust vaccines. And so Kyrie had he was never going to crack on this. So there was a little more to it. And I don't know if you've seen the pictures of him at home games where he's allowed to sit there without a mask, smiling.
Yeah.
He just knows he's the only one who will come out of this situation where everybody can look at him and respect him. I think that itself is a win, aside from the fact that he still made a whole bunch of money this year, aside from the fact that he got through it not having to take the shot, aside from the fact that by the time everything's done here, he's going to get to play in the playoffs. You're going to have to show me where he lost, because I don't see a spot where he did.
Let me ask you this. Can you say my last name?
Whitlock.
All red.
That's what I see when I see her, all red.
Well, that's her name, Gloria Allred. You called her All Right.
Here's the thing, Jason, real quick. Can I go back? To that press conference that kind of bothered me a little bit? Because the brother said, I reached out to her. God damn it, ain't that why we in trouble? Because you reached out? Now, I understand the brother, he don't think he done nothing wrong, and I get this. But what is your phrase? The road to hell is what?
Paved with good intentions.
Okay, and you've told me all my life coming up in the industry, what have you told me? Jim, you ain't never seen a black man in life do what? Get in trouble for helping a white woman put her breast up.
That's not what I've said.
Oh, I messed that up?
That's not what I said.
Well, anyway, look, man, I was in law enforcement. Seriously, I was in law enforcement, and I had to deal with things like this. But in a case like this, we utilized the Johnny Cochran rule. Seriously. And in this case, they said that if the tit don't fit, you must have quit. Come on, man.